Since we have groups, we're going to go to our list view, and let's rearrange this just a bit. That makes it a little bit easier to read if we put each element on its own line. The first thing we want to change is the items source. Instead of binding to context, we're going to tell it that it's to bind to dot. That's a special nomenclature, and you'll see how we support that by saying that our binding context is no longer this, but rather is directly to our property contact group. Let's go back to the XAML. The item tapped is fine. The item source is now fine, but there are a couple more things to add. The first is grouping enabled, which we'll set to true. Second is, because this will be on iOS, at least some of the time, we want a group short name binding. That gives you the jump list, and we need to tell it what to bind to, which is the key. Finally, we want to tell it that we may have uneven rows. They may not all be of the same height. So we'll set that to true. Close that up. Now our list view currently has an item template. We're going to keep that item template, but we're going to add another template. So we're going to say list view.group header, which will be at the top of each group. And so we're going to create a template for that to describe what that should look like at the head of each group. We start with a data template, which is the same thing we do with an item template. We then add a view cell, and inside the view cell we're going to create a stack layout. Now here's a new option, vertical options, and for the stack layout it could be fill or fill and expand. We'll set our padding, and most important, we'll set our background color to blue. Remember, this is what we want each header to look like. So our stack layout provides the background color of blue. We now need to have a label to supply what letter for the first initial. That label text will be that first initial, which you remember is in the key. So we're going to bind to the key. We're going to set our text color to white to stand out against the blue background. And here we'll set our vertical options. We have a few more options, and here we're going to choose to center that letter vertically. With what we did in the code behind, that is all we have to do to implement grouping. Make sure that there are groups in the code behind, and then create a group header template to show what it will look like when the group is created at runtime. Speaking of which, let's run the application. Up comes our simulator. And there we have our groups. And you can see on the right-hand side our jump list. We can scroll through this and notice that the B replaces the A, or we can jump directly to H, which gives us at the top our H names, and below that the next set of names that we have, which is J. There didn't happen to be any I